Settings, guys. Gotta put this on socials, make sure it's running, test volume, all that good stuff. I think it's just about right. Posting, my bad. Okay. This is gonna be a really big stream for Diablo 4 in my opinion. This is pretty much a make or break stream for Diablo 4 actually. Because their game is quickly dying and they need to do something to correct the course right now, man. Last time I checked on Steam, there was like 2,000 people playing their game. And I know that's Steam and it's not the numbers on Battle.net, but there's no way you could convince me that the numbers on Battle.net are anywhere even close to what Steam is, man. I mean, yeah, sure, they might have like 10,000, but that still isn't nothing. So it's really, really dire right now for these guys. I'm actually really concerned because I don't understand why they decided to end their campaign with a cliffhanger. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Why would you do that? Especially after what happened with Diablo 3, man. Like, for real, what the hell are you guys thinking? Diablo 3 was supposed to have more than just one expansion, and then the expansion didn't even do that great, so they just never continued it, and here you are doing the exact same thing again in Diablo 4. Ending your DLC with a cliffhanger again. So what's gonna happen if a month from now absolutely nobody's playing Diablo 4? Are you guys just gonna end your game and there's gonna be literally no resolution to the story? And what are you gonna do? Pick up from D4 and just make part 5 a direct sequel? I guess you could do that. But for real, man, they really need to rethink their strategy here, especially with Path of Exile 2 out there, man. Like, this is getting really bad for Blizzard. I have no clue what these guys are thinking. Man, it makes me shake my head. I mean, I have played Path of Exile 2, and even though it's a hot take, I do think that Diablo 4 is probably a superior game at the moment. At the moment. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to quickly catch up to them. So they think they have like this hardcore fan base of people who play these ARPGs, but what I feel like they're not understanding is they do have a hardcore fan base of people that play ARPGs, but we're playing Diablo 2, not Diablo 4. So you really, really need to give us something to actually latch onto.
In the season of witchcraft,
oh, what's this?
Some of its heads, which
let me turn that up.
Is actually a big deal.
Someone has stolen heads from the Tree of Whispers, and it is the Wanderer's role to discover the mystery behind who is taking the heads.
But do you guys remember when they had the campfire and like even the devs didn't know how to play their game? That was great, man.
Their own powers, and then you can utilize these powers in Season of Witchcraft.
If you're not familiar, the Tree of Whispers is this ancient tree with heads. You can come and ask for favors from the tree itself, but it will ask for something in return.
Yes, we know this.
No one has been able to get out of their deal with the Tree of Whispers until now.
Who is it that's been freeing these heads from the Tree of Whispers? And what are the fugitive heads themselves trying to accomplish now that they're free from the tree?
And these stolen heads are scattered all around Sanctuary.
I mean, I guess that's kind of cool.
Chaos and spreading strange rot, taking over
I'd still
the
be worried
bodies
about
of the
it.
living. Head rotten are what happens when a head from the Tree of Whispers attempts to graft itself onto an already living creature to reclaim that life. they retain some of the tree's power. Brambles and roots grow along the inside of these creatures, bursting out and causing them to essentially have a head detach. And they don't mind sacrificing their living victims in their pursuit to live again.
During the course of the season of witchcraft, you're going to work with different witches to help solve.
I want to see how many people are watching their live stream right
The
now.
witches of Hawazar are
1.4K, all right.
witches and chose to serve
I'm just saying,
the
man,
tree
look how
which
live
granted
literally gets
change
more than
for
that.
its
That's
power.
pretty sad.
At this point, hatred is spreading all throughout.
You guys are a
Sanctuary,
AAA gaming
and
company.
For the first time, it's managed to launch an attack at the Tree of Whispers. And though the tree is still standing, it's definitely worse for wear. And the witches that are bound to the tree have to set things right. Investigate, hunt down these heads, and through gathering strength in their witch powers to deal with the encroaching threat, they will be able to uncover what the mystery is.
In exchange for your help, the witches are offering you their witch powers. And this season, you're going to be able to tap into 3 major categories of witchcraft power.
What are
Una
you?
has eldritch powers, which are tied to the cycle of life and death.
Eldritch powers are the witch's form of dealing damage directly to enemies in the form of
Bro.
fire damage, burning damage, shadow damage.
Galena has power over psyche, which is illusion and seeing the unseen.
Powers of the mind, will, and soul, and they're the ones that protect you in battle. Growth and decay powers are powers of the swamp.
Caden deals with the body, disease and poultices, familiars.
They're the ones that decay your enemies and heal you in battle.
So you might be going for a fire sorceress, for example, and decide that you want to have ancient mystical frogs helping you in some way. These are going to be things that
Bro, I thought that was
you can
Elon
play with
Musk
to
for a
get
split
new
second.
levels of power.
That would have been
You can get
hilarious.
Builds that really are special to just this season.
Every class can use every power for every build.
There is also lost witchcraft power that can be found while you're adventuring.
This is a special witchcraft power that exists outside the purview of traditional witchcraft powers. So as players progress through the storyline and they complete Whispers, they will earn a seasonal currency. This seasonal currency is used to, 1, purchase witch powers, and also upgrade your witchcraft powers. An example of an eldritch power would
So this
be
is basically a
new
rehash
power,
of the vampire
Doom,
powers.
ominous
is what it looks like.
or eldritch energy that circles you and burns
I hope they have
enemies.
something better once the stream
Doom Orb
starts.
gets stronger as you slay enemies and will eventually explode. Doom Orb will also launch itself at enemies if no enemies are near you. So we do have some returning fan favorites coming back in Season of Witchcraft. Players who are fans of our franchise will remember some of these powers are from Diablo 3, specifically
Oh, no.
the Witch Doctor.
Don't start
Fire
pulling in
Bats
stuff
is
from
returning
D3. Are you
Diablo
serious?
3. Those who have played the Witch Doctor also remember the Hex skill, the Toad of Hugeness. However, it's been reimagined for Diablo 4 and Season of Witchcraft. This is the Poison Frog Servant.
I just think it's adorable, and I want to have a murderous pet frog follow me through Sanctuary.
Of all the witchcraft powers, something tells me that players are probably going to be the most excited about Piranha. It's effectively a whirlwind of water and chomping piranhas that will just shred your enemies to pieces. And yes, it does pull enemies towards
Why doesn't Wind Druid do that already?
So players will be unlocking and upgrading their various witchcraft powers through performing headhunts. You're going to see that there's an area in the world where the Tree of Whispers has detected fugitive heads. The head rotten are there. You need to go hunt them down. When they interact with other monsters in the world of Sanctuary, best case scenario, they horrifically corrupt that monster to become a new headless form of itself. Worst case, they actually affix themselves to a monster and become a new boss-like entity that has this ancient rotting head on top of this now puppeteered body.
There is a horror.
I mean,
in
that's
that,
kind of a
sort
cool concept.
Frankenstein-esque monster.
I could see that being
they
a thing
have
in the
more
Diablo
humanoid
universe, but
traits, but even stronger.
it does
powers.
just feel like the
Flaming
vampire
swords
powers
they're gonna be
again.
throwing at you, or they might be using poison axes that are hurled your way, or even shadow spears that tear up the ground. So these are going to be some new encounters that you've never seen before. As you perform various whispers in the area, hopefully you see briars out in the world. These are going to indicate that there's a head rotten there.
Yeah,
You
that's
manage
just
to
a malignant
successfully
heart.
Take down one of the head rotten and claim a fugitive head.
That's all it
This
is.
can be returned to the witches at the Tree of
Yeah,
Whispers.
it's legit a
and you're gonna
malignant
get
heart.
Special seasonal Soctables
Come
as
on.
a reward. On top of that, there will be some new whispers out there. You might have a chance to help a bewitched frog, or there might be a lost wisp that needs to find its way home. As you engage in these whispers, you're going to get reputation with the witches, as well as seasonal currency that you can use to unlock and upgrade your witch powers.
Bro, I hate seasonal currency.
So we've seen a lot of great
Not
feedback
gonna
from
lie.
the players on what are the various features that they most want to see in Diablo 4 to make our game even better. One that's come up quite a few times is an armory. When you save a build in the armory, it's going to take a snapshot of everything currently on your character. Skill tree, Paragon boards, your glyphs on those boards, and all of your gear. Players will be able to access the armory UI from any
You're giving us
city.
loadouts?
You'll be able to pursue multiple different builds on one class at the same time.
Wow.
This could be pretty cool when leveling
It only
up.
took
It's
over a
especially
year.
fun
We're
once
getting
you get into the
loadouts,
endgame.
and it
At
only
that
took
point,
over
whenever
a
you
year,
find
man.
Cool item that, oh man,
Good
this
job,
is really
Blizzard.
strong, but not for the build I'm running right
Good
now.
job.
Oh, but you
Great.
can still use it. You can still save out separate sets and try to pursue getting really powerful setups of very different versions of your class at the same time. I am excited of what it could feel like to constantly be swapping between these different builds and seeing which one is the most powerful.
I'm excited for people to just immerse themselves in the season.
Me personally, I'm very likely going to be running a companion druid build with the grow power to have a giant werewolf army. Hell yes.
We have a quest line that is different.
It's
and
Direwolf
emotionally
from D2,
gut-wrenching.
man.
New witch powers, fugitive heads, new whispers.
Really interesting bosses that have unique attack patterns.
New uniques, legendaries, and new runes for Vessel of Hatred players.
There's a lot to try out here, some builds that have never been present before. I'm excited to see what players do with it.
So I like runes, but I wish that the rune words were more complex. Because right now runes are like 2 runes and that's it. Boo.
Hello, everyone.
I mean,
Welcome
yeah.
to our first Diablo stream of 2025. We had
Fix your
an
audio,
excellent
guys.
holiday break, super relaxed, and very excited to bring you Season of Witchcraft. As you might have seen,
so excited.
This Tuesday, we announced Season of Witchcraft is coming on January 21st. We've got an excellent show for you today. Today we're joined by some familiar faces. You know, Mr. Charles Dunn, welcome.
Hi, I'm Charles. I'm a game designer on the live balance team.
And I'm Aislinn Hall. I am a systems designer on Live Balance.
Aislinn, great to have you back. And all the way from Albany, New York, Mr. Dan Tanguay, welcome back to the stream.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Dan
Oh,
Tanguay.
God.
I'm the design director for Live Services.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Dan. As you can all see, Season of Witchcraft is upon us. Huge shout out to our production team. We've got some absolutely disgusting heads that we bored from the Tree Whispers. You can't see on this guy yet. I might give him a spin later on, but the teeth on him are absolutely horrible. Yeah, without further ado, to give you a brief overview for the stream, we're going to walk you through the seasonal content, so Season of Witchcraft. Excited to get into it. Then we'll head over to some class and balance updates, give you a brief preview of some new uniques coming to the season. Should be pretty exciting. And then we'll have some system updates and get into some exciting features coming. This
Bro,
season, which
is it
that's
just
been
me or do these guys
much
look
anticipated
terrified?
for a long time. Then stick around because we'll do a Q&A towards the tail end of the stream, and we'll get into all your questions. So I do have Twitch chat open that I'm looking at, and we will be collecting questions throughout the stream for our devs to answer. But before we jump into Season of Witchcraft, we do want to cast ourselves all the way back to the start of December where we had the 2.1 PTR. Thank you to everyone who jumped into this PTR. There was a ton of content.
Thank you, Riker.
And we did have some exciting
Thank you.
features. Like, I gotta ask you, Aislinn, like, how did it feel to get the armory finally into
Oh
people's
my
hands?
gosh, I've been waiting for so long. I'm so glad it's finally here. The armory feels amazing to use. It's so great to finally have it in the game. Anyone who hasn't had a chance.
Bro, the armory feels amazing to use. It took you over a year to implement that. Are you serious? Like, why did it take you so long to get a freaking loadout function for this game? What is wrong with you, man? Oh my God.
To try it yet, it's
Bro, they're sitting here acting like it's some like amazing accomplishment. This shit should have been done when the game came out, period. Period.
going to be a godsend in Season 7. You're going to love it. It's just such a useful tool, and we'll go more into the details later, but wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, Charles, did you get any feedback on uniques?
Yeah.
Any of the balance changes? Or?
yeah, from the PTR, we got a lot of great feedback on balance and all the new content for classes, like the new uniques, new legendaries, all the tweaks and adjustments to skills. Your feedback's been invaluable. Not only like feedback written up on social media or on our forums or elsewhere, but also just like in the raw data, the player data, our telemetry has been very helpful in making sure that this season and every season is as.
So, like, really quick, I will say that it does seem like they listen to us. It takes them way too long to actually respond to us, but it does seem like they've been listening to us, so I give them props for that. But to be fair, though, a lot of this stuff that is issues with D4 should have been addressed and fixed before the game ever came out. So I'm still not going to be like giving them a pat on the back for that.
As best as it can be when it actually launches.
Yeah, that's a great point, Charles. Like, one thing we did want to touch on is even if you don't see your feedback represented throughout the stream, because we will be touching on different feedback across all the sections from our PTR, we do still internalize all that feedback and take it through and help, make decisions throughout future seasons. So all the feedback is very much appreciated and really does help inform that content. But yeah, there was a ton to chew on in the PTR. Like, we had all our witchcraft powers in there. Like, there's an absolute smattering of content. But very excited to throw it over to Dan Tangway. Can you let us know what players can expect?
They meant to say
in
rehashed
Season of Witchcraft?
vampire powers.
Yeah, let's talk about the Season of the Witchcraft. There's a lot to cover at this point. You got a bigger chunk of it than you had in previous seasons in the PTR, but still, we've got some surprises in store that we want to share with y'all. So let's get started. First off, the Season of Witchcraft. Dozens of heads are missing from the Tree of Whispers. And so the tree is hell-bent and really just ticked off. It wants to find them. I mean,
Time out. How do you lose a head from the Tree of Whispers without the tree knowing about it? How many heads are hanging off the Tree of Whispers? If there's even one head on the Tree of Whispers still, then the tree should know what happened to the heads. Like, what the hell? That doesn't even make any sense.
These heads were part of a bargain. The tree is all about keeping your word, and now that bargain is broken. So yeah, the tree's mad. Full stop. Now the witches have summoned you to the tree, and they're offering you a deal. If you can get those heads back for them, they'll offer you the secrets of witchcraft. So that's where we begin. And the first thing, we're going to have an all-new quest line. And that new quest line is going to be you unraveling the mystery of those missing heads. And while you're doing that, like I said, you're going to be earning wild witchcraft and occult gems. We have a new activity called Head Hunts, and that's going to allow you to pursue whispers, slay Head Rotten, which is the new enemies, the new family of enemies that we have this season, and find those missing heads.
The Malignant.
In addition to the head hunts, you're also going to have root holds. These are new micro dungeons that allow you to discover bonus Head Rotten and also their bosses. And then finally, we've got some updates to the season journey that we'll cover, including a new pet named Dorian, which is a pet raven. This is our first flying pet, so we're pretty excited.
Oh my god, we're getting a raven. We're getting a raven, guys. That is amazing, bro. Oh my god. Wow. Wow, man. We're getting a raven.
Excited about that. Let's talk about some of the powers. So witchcraft, at least as we're defining it this season, it allows its practitioners to call upon the power of the swamp to do their bidding. And there are 3 schools of magic within witchcraft. We've got Eldritch Witchcraft, and that's uncanny magic that, is just weird and bizarre and very of the swamp. You've got Psyche powers. These are powers of the mind and spirit. And we've got Growth and Decay, and that's magic that both heals and harms your enemies. I'm going to take a look at some of these in action. So first up, we're going to have Eldritch powers once we get our clip going.
Good job, production team.
And right here, we're seeing that we've got Fire Bats, which is a classic power from the Witch Doctor that we brought back this season, paired up with Doom Orb. Next up, we've got some Psyche powers here.
Man, that literally looks like they copy and pasted that power from D3 into D4. Like, it legitimately looks almost exactly the same. Wow.
And we're using Vengeful Spirit, which is kind of hanging around you and zooming between enemies, and the Aura of Lament, where you see these psychic projections of hands come out of the ground and slow your enemies. And finally, we've got growth and decay magic. And you watch right there, your wolves got really big all of a sudden. That's grow magic. And that's been paired up with the poison frog, which you see in the corner, wailing away on the head rotten there. So those are some good examples of the types of magics that you're going to be able to use in this season, and you'll start seeing them sprinkled all throughout the rest of the clip.
Man, we're starting to look really cartoony again. Very cartoony again, man. I hope they course correct on that one. We do not need all these bright
So
colors.
we're about to show you. Next up, let's talk about the headhunts. So I said before the tree was really mad, right? Because it's missing its heads. And so what it's doing is actually calling out all new whispers, and it's just furiously searching for these heads. But it can't do it on its own. So when it calls out a particular zone, because it knows roughly where the heads are, it calls its agents to help it out, and you're one.
Okay, good. At least they addressed that, what I just said a little while ago. So, the Trio Whispers should know where the heads are. So, at least that makes a little sense.
One of the tree's agents, so you can go and solve some of those whispers and get rewarded for them. Now, the headhunts are special zone takeovers that complement the Hell Tides. So, folks on the PTR called them Witch Tides. Sure, you can call them that, but the idea is that these aren't just replacing Hell Tides; they're there to supplement them in terms of what you can do in the overworld.
Wait a second. All right, so the people on the PTR are calling them Witch Tides, and they know this, right? Like they know this because they just mentioned it, right? So you're basically being told as a game dev, hey, this is literally Hell Tides, but with a witch theme. And your thought process is, oh man, that sounds cool. That's what we should call it, man. We should call them Witch Tides. Really? Really? Dude, they're telling you to your face that you're copy and pasting Hell Tides. And you're like, cool with it.
Now these are going to be swarming with head rotten, those enemies we talked about before. The head rotten are monsters that have fallen under the influence of the missing heads, and the heads have transformed them in really grotesque ways. Now, these head hunts, like I mentioned, are going to feature all new whispers mixed with some existing ones as well. Completing a whisper unlocks what's called an exposed root, and that gives you a chance of actually triggering what is a cocoon. And these uprooted cocoons have a chance of then spawning a head rotten boss. So every time you complete a whisper, you've got a chance at triggering a boss. And occasionally a boss will spawn from one of these, and then everyone in the zone can work together to try and take down that boss. And if you're really lucky, that boss will have one of the missing heads associated with it. So let's take a look at some of this in action here. Now, first up, we're going to check out one of our new whispers.
Very excited for the Raven.
This is a Shepherd Whisper.
Thanks for stopping by, by the way.
This is allowing you
Sorry,
to,
that took a while.
you know,
I forgot to put my
multi-stream
multi-stream on and
innocent
could not see
wildlife
anything.
in this area to safety. You know, very simple, but you know, the witches want to make sure that no one's harmed by the head rotten. Next up, we've got some villagers that are trapped in bramble in an entangled whisper. And so you're trying to defeat all the enemies around there in order to free the villager there. Following that, we're actually going to get a view of one of the exposed roots as it transforms.
Wow, look at the purple malignant hearts.
And so
they made the malignant hearts purple,
like,
man.
Some other open world boss fights, there's going to be some combat leading up to the boss spawning. And that first cocoon actually didn't have a boss in it, but you still got some rewards from it. So we're going to see if this second cocoon has a boss in it. So we're, you know, continuing to clear head rotten, and indeed a boss does spawn. Now, unfortunately, it's not a boss with a missing head. This is a headless husk, but still, it's going to be pretty rewarding to defeat this. So hopefully everyone in the area realizes that, you know, there's a boss in the air and they're going to come help you defeat this. And yeah, that is a good peek at what headhunts are going to be. But let's go back to the tree now.
No, let's not go back to the tree. So I have been watching this stream for like, what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Oh no, it looks like I've been on for almost 24 minutes. And I honestly can't tell you anything they just told me, man. All I've heard so far is, hey, we have copy pasted Helltides and Malignant Hearts are back. And like this is a make or break stream for these guys, man. Like they desperately need to find a way to get people into this game. So they're repeating stuff they did in the past. Isn't the definition of insanity to repeat the same thing over and over again and expect a different result? Why are they doing this? I don't want to be this negative about Diablo 4. I actually like Diablo 4. Right? If I didn't like Diablo 4, like what I got a Diablo 4 hat, blah blah blah. I love Diablo in general, but this is not it, man. I hope they got something huge that they're about to reveal to us, because this is definitely not it.
Because really want to take you through some of the steps on how to learn new witchcraft. So let's talk about that. So the first thing that's really important when you want to learn new witchcraft is that you're always going to be earning Covenant's favor from completing Whispers. And that's going to unlock new witchcraft at certain tiers of the Coven favor board. Now,
Dude, this is literally exquisite blood. This is literally exquisite blood.
additionally, as you're killing those head rotten that I showed you before, you're going to be earning Restless Rot. Now, Restless Rot is something that you can offer as proof of a kill to the altar to earn that new witchcraft. And then you can use it also to upgrade your witchcraft directly in your UI. One final note I want to make here is that we decided to use witchcraft and these seasonal powers as a way to help boost your alts. So that means that whenever you upgrade and unlock a piece of witchcraft, that's going to stay upgraded and unlocked for all your characters on your account for the rest of the season. So it's going to be a great.
I like that. Thank you, Jesus. Because nothing pisses me off more than playing up to what? It's like almost level 250 now or something like that. Then I'm playing up to that level, starting a new character, and having to start all over again. Like I remember when the game first came out, they wanted to make it so that the statues of Lilith would reset on new seasons. And thank God they did not do that, because I would have been pissed if I had to go around and find all the statues of Lilith again. Dude, the first time made me want to literally gouge my eyes out with a spoon. So praise the Lord that at least they're doing this. We only have to level it up once. But I'm sure there's going to be something in there where if we want to be able to get resplendent sparks, we'll have to do all of those cash quests again like we do in every season. So that kind of sucks. But let's see.
Leg up for, trying new characters in the future. Well, let's take a look at some of this in action. All right, so here we are in the Tree of Whispers area.
Yep.
And we're looking at the
There it is.
Coven rep board.
I literally
we'll
just
see
said
right
this.
up here that on rank 7, you actually unlock some more witchcraft. So we're going to go over to our altar now. Now at the altar, we're going to take a look at a list of things that you haven't learned yet. And each of these costs Restless Rot to earn. And so you're going to learn Grow. And now Grow has appeared in your witchcraft inventory to the right. And you're also going to look at upgrading Abyssal Resonance. That was a bit of a mouthful. And we can upgrade it from rank 3 to 4 by just applying the Restless Rot directly. But headhunts aren't the only places that you're going to be able to find head rotten. Let's go, actually no, I'm skipping ahead. Let's talk about Forgotten Altars first. So there's a bit of a twist on earning some of your witchcraft. Not all the witchcraft that you can learn is actually known by the.
Hey Blizzard, pay me millions of dollars. I can do this without like forgetting what order I'm supposed to say things. Pay me millions, please, Blizzard. Come on.
The Witches of Hawazar, or the tree for that matter. Some of it has just been lost to the world. And so these take the form of lost powers that you can find on Forgotten Altars out in the dungeons of Sanctuary. So as you're adventuring through your dungeons, you will find some lost powers that you can't get anywhere else. And so it should be pretty exciting to stumble across one of these. Can't remember if there's a clip or not here, so let's take a look. Yeah, there it is indeed.
You can't remember.
And so real quick, going through a dungeon, you see a Forgotten Altar, you interact with it, and then a new power is unlocked. Now, the cool thing about these is that if you find more altars, you can upgrade your powers by doing this, but you can also upgrade them through spending a premium price of Restless Rot. So you've got a couple options for upgrading these once you're able to find them. Now we're going to talk about the root holds, I think. So root holds. Root holds are micro dungeons.
Bro, like, why are they always using a necromancer for all of this stuff? It's like one of these devs has a serious hard-on for necromancers, because almost every time they have like a video example, it's always a necro. What is up with that?
And so these micro dungeons are home to some of the head rotten and the head rotten bosses and the missing heads. They've gotten a little wise to what the tree's up to, so they're trying to hide underground. And so each of these contains a really concentrated population of head rotten and their rewards, and they require a new type of sigil called a whispering wood in order to access. And so these drop from whisper caches. So as you complete those whispers, you'll get more access to root holds, as well as silent chests, which actually are pretty common in the headhunt areas. So let's take a look at a root hold. First off, we're going to open our inventory, and in there is going to be a whispering wood. And we're just going to trigger that like we would any nightmare dungeon. And then we're going to teleport right into our root hold.
More nightmare dungeons.
A little bit of that.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, we get more nightmare dungeons.
All right,
wait,
now
seasonal
we're in the
nightmare
dungeon. We're going to
dungeons.
come upon a couple of interactions, actually 4. These are rites and ceremonies. These are interactions that allow you to increase the challenge in the root hold in order to get more rewards. And if it reminds you a little bit of Hell Breaches, well, it is pretty similar, but unlike those,
yes,
you can actually do multiple rites and ceremonies instead of just one.
dude, this guy just said exactly what I was thinking. This is a hell breach. Like, what the hell, man? It's like they took all of their endgame content and put a purple skin on it, and said it was a witch. Even the devs themselves know this is a copy pasted concept.
And when you take those on, then all the enemies and all the interactions afterwards have been impacted. And so we're going to fight through some of the head rotten here. Like I said, root holds are a pretty good spot to get a concentrated dose of them. And you also get a number of guaranteed roots that you can try and uproot as well, which is great. We'll watch a little bit more of this, and then we'll culminate with a boss. One more battle first, but I'll say that each root hold is guaranteed to have a boss at the end, which is nice if you want to start really trying to grind to get your missing heads. Now let's take a look at the boss. Oh, well, this boss actually has a head, so that's pretty cool, because a lot of them don't. So we're going to kill that boss, and that boss is going to drop a missing head.
That's so
We're
cool.
actually going to go take it back to the Tree of Whispers now.
Did that guy just get a
taking it back
mythic?
to the Tree of Whispers, we're going to talk to a witch, and we're going to be able, in return for giving her this head, craft an occult gem. And this gem, I think we're going to craft as an Elder Sigil, and we're going to be able to slot that into one of our rings. So let's do that right now. Here we go. And the Elder Sigil is not only going to provide us some defense, like you would get from your a diamond or skull that you've slotted into a ring or not a talisman.
Dude, we do not need more like things to put in the sockets. You know what would have been better for this? What I honestly think would have been better is, and I thought he was about to do this for a split second, I was excited. Give us the ability to craft charms. Why can't we do that in Diablo 4? Imagine how cool that would be, right? As a season mechanic. Instead of crafting something we have to put in a socket piece, give us something we can craft that, you know, that's a charm. And then it turns into this thing where it's like, well, how many charms do we want to carry? And don't give us a charm bag. I'm not saying do that. But make it like kind of Diablo 2-esque, right? Where you can put more charms into your inventory, but then you don't have enough space to hold very much. Like, that would have been cool. I would have been really excited for that.
Yeah. But also, it's going to give you some additional bonuses above and beyond that. But I'm dancing around it. What are occult gems? And so let's talk a little bit more about what occult gems are at this point. So occult gems are special socketables, and these socketables are going to really help you fine tune your build after you
See,
have
these would be
kind of a
cool
good
as charms,
foundation
man.
of witchcraft. Now they're crafted like you saw using the missing heads return to the Tree of Whispers. They can only be slotted in jewelry slots though, your talismans and your rings, and they only last for the season. Now, when items transfer to the Eternal Realm, they disappear forever. And they build on top of your witchcraft powers. You know, they're going to provide item and skill bonuses for certain witchcraft combinations. So, if you really like the Piranado, for example, you're going to be investing in Hex and Aura. And if you invest a lot in Hex and Aura, it probably is wise to try and find an occult gem that also builds on top of those things as well. And that'll really allow you to fully enhance your build while you're entering and then playing through the end game. All right, so we've talked a bit about occult gems. While we were putting all this together for Season of Witchcraft, we also saw some really good opportunities to improve the quality of life of the Whisper Loop. So let's talk through a couple of those right now. First off, we've updated the town area around the Tree
This
of
has
Whispers.
not been a good stream so
Previously, it was
far.
kind of small. It was, home to a number of
Not at all.
outcasts, and that group of outcasts has grown this season. Not only do the witches make home there, but there's a couple of new people there that provide additional services, and we've also actually put an extra armory in there too, so you can make use of that. Now, while you're out in headhunts, we've also added a new feature called the Raven of the Tree, and this allows you to basically
Ravens,
make
wow.
submissions to the Tree of Whispers, turn in your Grim Favor in order to be able to get a cache immediately on the spot.
Oh, that's
instead
cool.
of having to return to the Tree of Whispers itself.
Yeah, that's actually
And
cool.
it's convenient, sure, but it also allows you to really stay in the moment. If, for example, a new boss is triggered or something like that from an uprooted cocoon, and you want to join in that, you go over to the Raven of the Tree, turn in your Grim Favor, and then get right back into the battle again. And finally, we've got some ancestral caches. These are a new type of cache that we've added that guarantees an ancestral item. And we wanted to make sure just that the Whisper Loop had, full range of items that it could drop. So we're pretty excited to be able to share all of these with you, as well as some new improvements to the season journey. So let's talk through those real quick. Now, with the season journey, we realized that a lot of casual players use the season journey as a way to figure out what to do next. And we also realized that our early chapters hadn't really been helping the casual players as much as we would have liked. So we've reworked a lot of those early objectives to help casual players more, because we want to see more of them get into the end game. Now, the later chapters, though, didn't feel especially challenging to us, so we've tried to improve that. Chapter 7 especially, we've reworked to really provide some more aspirational goals for players. And this is something that we're just going to continue working on in future seasons as well. Now, we've asked you to do a lot more in terms of the objectives, so we wanted to make sure we gave you a really great reward too. So this is where you can earn Dorian the Raven. And like I said at the top, this is our first flying pet, which is pretty awesome.
That's cool. So we don't have to pay for it.
I am pretty excited to get Dorian. I have a feeling that
at least I hope not.
Flying pets are pretty much going to be my new favorite moving forward. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this one.
Oh yeah, Dorian's going to be wonderful. Ravens love shine.
Dude, they spent millions and millions of dollars to make this game. They're probably spending millions of dollars to maintain the game. And the biggest thing that they've come up with is a flying raven. I'll give you a second to think about that.
So him picking up your gold is just perfect.
Oh, yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah. And finally, I think I'd like to chat through some PTR stuff. So Charles is going to cover a lot of the updates we made to the powers and occult gems, because that's what his team focused on. But the seasons team really focused on some of the headhunts and systems, and took a lot of your feedback and really tried to improve the game prior to launch. So here's a couple things that I just want to cover real quick. First off, the multiplayer headhunts felt overwhelming for a lot of new players. And so we've done a number of things to tweak the headhunts to make sure that they don't feel as overwhelming. First off, we've made some targeted reductions to the number of elites. There were just a lot of elites on the PTR. And so you're still going to have a lot of monster density as you're fighting through these headhunts. But hopefully this will make things a little more manageable because we also had to reduce the number of, not the number of bosses, but the frequency at which they spawned. We've got bad luck protection to make sure that, you will eventually see a boss spawn as you're playing through a headhunt.
Eventually.
We had to dial that down just a little bit because they were coming up quite often. We've also reduced the number of low-value item drops. We had heard from a number of you that you were spending more time picking up a lot of items that really weren't good.
Hey, real quick. So that's another thing I don't understand about the direction that D4 is going. Why did they get rid of sacred gear? I really don't feel like they should have ever gotten rid of sacred gear. And it was cool to be able to move up from normal items to sacred and then to ancestral. But now it's at a point where it's like it feels, until you get ancestral gear at least, it feels like everything is trash. Everything on the ground is trash if it's not ancestral. So I think they should bring back sacred gear. Because at least then if something was sacred, it could be a good item. So it'd give me a reason to actually pick that thing up. So I don't understand why the hell they ever got rid of that to begin with.
Instead of actually battling the head rotten, which is what we want you to do. We've also reduced the number of active headhunt zones from 5 to 4. And then finally, we're going to add a new HUD
Why?
element. A number of folks had pointed out that it wasn't really clear that completing whispers was the thing that actually triggered the roots and then the cocoons. And so we've got a HUD element that will definitely illustrate that better. Unfortunately, that's not going to come till release 2.11, which is going to be roughly 2 weeks out from launch.
What?
Now, head rotten, especially bosses, we're not challenged around half health. We've made that full health now. And we gave the head rotten a very small percentage of damage reduction as well. We've given you a lot of cool new powers in form of witchcraft to play with. We want to make sure the head rotten serve as a good challenge for you as you're building out your witchcraft powers. Next up, head rotten bosses were just not rewarding enough across the board, so we've increased their rewards to a level that's closer to a blood maiden than what they were previously.
Dude, the issue isn't that rewards don't drop enough. The issue is that the rewards in terms of loot suck. I don't understand why they can't comprehend this. They legitimately cannot comprehend that the reason people are like quitting the game and playing for like through the season journey and then they're off until the next season is because there is literally no reason, absolutely no reason for me to sit there and grind and grind and grind for something that is mediocre as fuck. So I don't understand this shit again, man. Come on.
And then finally, some players didn't quite
Give us
understand
better
how to
items,
earn an
Blizzard.
upgrade witchcraft. So we made some changes to help with that. Each altar is going to contain the same inventory now instead of having unique inventories.
Let me move
And that way
over.
you don't need to try and figure out which altar you need to go to in order to learn something. And we've also rewritten a lot of the tooltip descriptions to make sure that we're very clear about where you can go to get things. But yeah, I think that covers it for PTR learnings. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I think I'll pass it back to Irvine.
No, I think you covered all of it, Dan. That was incredible. That was an absolute ton of content. There's just so much
Not
to
really.
dive into with this season. Like I think I
That
can
was
speak
an
for everyone,
absolute
like,
lot of
between
copy and
root
pasting
holes,
you meant to
witchcraft
say.
powers, occult gems. Like there's just so much in the mix to dive in and get used to, and like it all kind of comes back to headhunts that you can kind of use as a zone to get through, like to get into all the content, which is super exciting. So Dan, thanks so much for walking us through all of that. I know we've got more details coming out in our patch notes following the stream, and we do have some of those witchcraft powers already existing in our blog. So if you want more information on those, you can check those out. But Dan's going to stick around because we will be bringing Dan back for our Q&A section at the end of the stream. So if you have any questions, on Dorian the Raven or on witchcraft powers, occult gems, or anything to do with Season of Witchcraft, please drop those in chat and we'll grab them throughout the stream. But for all of you who are kind of theory crafting and build crafting and thinking about okay,
Theory
what's my playstyle
crafting?
going to be?
Build
Season of
crafting?
Witchcraft, you're
Build
probably already
crafting
thinking
what?
about the different occult gems, the different witchcraft powers, but to finish off that equation, of course, you need to get all the balance updates for the season.
Yeah.
So Charles, can you take us through what's coming?
Of course, yeah. I'd love to talk
Build
about
crafting
how you're going to
ravens?
attack these head rotten. Like, what is your build going to look like, and what are some of the new uniques and legendaries that you're going to get to play with in this season. First, before getting into each individual class, I want to talk about some of our broader initiatives on the class design side that kind of affect every class in some way. Specifically, wanted to talk about how we did some ultimate skill updates in this patch. For ultimate skills, we're now we're able to get skill ranks on them starting in Season 6, the previous season. But now once you get them up to rank 5, you're going to get a special bonus. And we found these to be really flashy and fun on the PTR. People love playing with ultimates, and you get to cast them more often. They've got more effects. They had some scaling
Flashy and fun
ways to scale their damage with
is
these
literally
rank
a
5
bullet
bonuses
point.
sometimes. We did find that some of those exact scaling numbers were a little on the higher side. They were a little bit more powerful and kind of crowding out non-ultimate builds.
Right.
We love that people are playing these and we want them to be powerful, but there are certainly some times when it's a little too much and it feels like you can't play anything else.
Right.
So we are taking a pass across the board on some of those ultimate scalings to bring them down just a little bit, but we still expect them to be very powerful and very fun. Secondarily, we've got the summons update. This was a big pass across summons from Necromancer, their skeletons, Druid companions, Rogue Shadow Clone is a big one.
Oh, yes.
And then even Sorcerer Conjurations and the Barbarian Ancients even. So for the summons update, without getting too technical into it, essentially what happened was all of the damage that your summons do is going to be attributed to the player and not to a separate entity that's kind of separated from you. And what that ultimately means is that all of those summons will now inherit your damage bonuses more consistently. Anything that says you deal increased damage affects your summons. Just out of the box, it works for everything. It's just more consistent interaction across the board. Any of your lucky hit effects that says, hey, you've got a lucky hit chance to stun an enemy. All of the damage from your summons also can trigger that now. And this is great for consistency across the board. Previously, it was sometimes inconsistent what would work with what. And I'm particularly excited about Shadow Clone, as we'll talk about in the Rogue section coming up. But that was one that historically really never hit the mark for an ultimate skill. And with this new update, we think Shadow Clone is going to really live up to the promise of really duplicating your actions in a way that feels meaningful and does tons of damage exactly like you'd expect it to.
Oh, it's going to be very powerful.
Shadow Clone has always been trash, and I don't know if there's a way to fix it. The damage scaling on Shadow Clone is way, way too low. That's what the problem is. They really need to buff Shadow Clones in general if you want anybody to ever even consider using it.
I'm looking forward to it. And summons truly are just an extension of you now and all of your power. They're inheriting all of that properly, and they're going to blast. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. The one last kind of big picture item that we took away from the PTR was about crowd control effects. We noticed that there's a whole lot of what I'd call incidental crowd control effects, things that happen from lucky hits or procs, specifically from the Worldly Fortune Tempering Manual that gives you lucky hit, chance to stun, or chance to freeze an enemy, as well as particularly from the Fist of Fate unique item. We found that it was often the most common way to build your character in the late game was to really stack up these effects, and then you're just applying a lot of crowd control on this lucky hit cadence rather than actively pressing crowd control buttons or really opting into it. And we do think that once it gets to a certain point of that, it can make our combat less engaging, where enemies just randomly get stunned or frozen without you really having too much input into that. But then it also makes it very frustrating when you don't lucky hit and an enemy hits you that you expected to have got hit with this. So we're looking to potentially address that in a future season or future updates. We don't have any changes regarding the crowd control here in Season 7, but it's one of those examples of the learnings that we're going to take forward to future seasons and potentially look at improving this so that we can make our combat feel that much more engaging and actually get a little bit of back and forth between you and the enemies a bit more than there currently is, especially in the hyper late game situation when your characters are really maxed out. So with that in mind, let's get on to some of the individual classes, starting with the Barbarian. So the Barbarian on the Season 7 PTR was performing quite solidly. We were pretty happy with where Barbarian landed. We are really excited about Hammer of the Ancients and this Earthquake build with the new unique, which we'll show in a moment. We do think the Hammer of the Ancients part of that maybe could use a little bit more numerical buffs, so we threw some buffs there.
Yeah, because you guys like nerfed it into the ground last season.
A bit behind some of the other builds. But on the whole, we definitely expect Barbarian to be really powerful and a strong option going forward. Let's take a look at that new unique item, the Mantle of Mountain's Fury.
Oh, yes.
This empowers your Hammer of the Ancients to cause a seismic line, and if that line hits an earthquake, it's going to explode that earthquake for massive damage, a big fire explosion.
Nice.
Looks so sweet.
It's very
Yeah, I
intense.
actually like that.
Very powerful, and right on the Barbarian fantasy of just
that's
hitting things
sick.
with big weapons, making earthquakes, making explosions.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
I love it because like the flavor of Hammer of the Ancients is like hit the ground and smash it. And this is just taking that and amplifying it by like 100 times.
Oh, absolutely. So really excited for this and to see how this build performs in Season of the Witchcraft.
Yeah, that actually looks good.
Up
I'm
next,
not gonna
we've
lie.
got the Sorceress. So the Sorceress, kind of in contrast to the
Please,
Barbarian, was
please,
by
God.
far the weakest class on the PTR.
Yes, please fix it. For the love of God, fix it. The Sorceress has been nerfed into oblivion. Like, even the meta crazy-ass builds, like Ball, Lightning Spear, everything from the Sorceress needs to be fixed. They need to rework the Sorceress. For the love of God, fix the Sorceress, man.
No getting around that. We made some adjustments going into this season that we think maybe overshot and brought Sorceress down a little further than we'd be happy with. Particularly changes to Conjuration and Burning bonuses. We're happy with how that affected build variety, but the overall power level suffered. So with that in mind, we're going to do a lot of buffs mainly on the passive effects for the class to really kind of bring all of their numbers up by just a little bit across the board.
A lot of it.
I specifically want to
needs
call
a
out
lot
our
of it,
changes
not a
to
little bit.
Searing Heat and Icefall. These are legendary Paragon nodes that previously were very build specific, like you would only use Searing Heat in a Burning build. We've made some tweaks to it where it's still good in a Burning build. It's probably better, but it also has some applications across all builds and all damage types. So these will just be a little bit more generically applicable, but still very good for the build that they were initially intended for.
Right.
With that in mind, I want to show some of the updates to Firebolt enchantment. This is one that we had reworked as part of those burning changes, and we thought even on the PTR it wasn't quite hitting the mark. So now, dealing burning damage, if you take this enchantment, will have a chance to heal you for some of your maximum life, which it already did, and it also unleashes a bonus Firebolt onto a nearby enemy. So that you can see in this clip here, when enemies are burning, they're just randomly firing off some extra Firebolts to nearby enemies that can really help to spread that burning and take down big packs.
Yeah, it's its own little chain firebolt now.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, want to highlight some of the new uniques coming in this season. So Sorceress
that's
has
cool,
two.
but it really
The
isn't gonna
Strike
do
of
that much.
Stormhorn is a unique focus that's going to modify your Ball Lightning to give you Super Ball Lightnings sometimes.
Really?
So it'll always fire out straight forward, and it's a little bit faster. And occasionally you'll get the Super Ball Lightning, which will explode for a big chunk of damage at the end in a cone shape, and also stun enemies.
It's kind of like going bowling.
Exactly. You get a strike with Stormhorn.
I mean, that's cool.
Exactly. Alternatively,
still gonna
you
be
could
able to
take
make
the
those, like,
other
circle
unique
us?
focus that is being introduced in this season, Okun's Catalyst, to kind of play Bolt Lightning the way it's often been played in the past with this
Right.
gravitational effect.
Yeah.
We've done some reworks on the gravitational aspect that previously did that, and now it will be in this unique, where the Ball Lightnings will orbit around you and do damage to enemies who are close by. You really want to get
Okay, so long story short, what he just said is, hey, you guys found the way to make a freaking awesome build. We're gonna nerf the item or the legendary affix that gave you that ability, and we're gonna put it onto a unique, so that way we can say that we are the ones who came up with this build, not you.
close and in that action, whereas with Strike of Stormhorn, you're playing at a little bit more of a range.
Right.
We really like how we're doing these like paired uniques where you kind of have a choice. Hey, what focus do I want to use? They are going to be mutually exclusive. You can't have both.
They're in
But
the
that's,
same slot.
that's because they're so different and they're different play styles. But we think putting these into different uniques gives us the space to really live up this fantasy, you know, give you lots of affixes and bonuses that make it as powerful and really to help enhance that that fantasy that we're hoping to play.
Yeah, and Oaken's Catalyst really gives you that like transformative ball lightning experience, which is like the orbiting ball lightning. But Strike of Stormhorn kind of just amplifies the original ball lightning experience, which is just shoot it out and have it explode in this magnificent blast of energy. So I love that we are allowing both of those to shine.
Absolutely. All right, on to the next class. We've got the Druid. So the Druid on the PTR did have one bugged build. One of their legendary Paragon nodes was causing their damage to scale way higher than we intended. Occasionally would even kind of break the game and go, you'd see negative damage numbers. Definitely not intended. We fixed that bug. But despite that, we think Druid on the whole was still in a solid place even without that. We've made a number of adjustments and reworked the Blurred Beast aspect. This is one that we had tried out a rework on the PTR, and it wasn't quite hitting the mark. It wasn't quite as engaging to play as we had hoped, so we did a rework to it to
rework
improve the shred
A
builds for Werewolf.
rework.
Additionally, I wanted to highlight some of the Spirit Boon updates. These were the Druid class mechanic. You
Yeah.
get these Spirit Boons. Historically, they've been a little bit falling behind, and we've done some big buffs here to make them really powerful. I especially like the Gift of the Stag. It's my favorite one. It gives you passive spirit generation every second.
They
Yeah.
made the
That
Druid
really helps
Riri.
smooth out the Druid's early game in particular when they're struggling to really get their resource engine online. They were definitely one of the slower classes early
So
on.
slow.
And I think this update
Took
to the
forever.
Spirit Boons is going to really help that.
Never
Yeah,
play as a
totally. And
Druid.
that's just such a great example of how the update is going to help them because Druids have typically struggled with generating spirit in the early game, and so having more access to that's going to help a ton.
Yeah, it's about time.
Let's take a look at a clip of the new Blurred Beast rework. So on the PTR, it would do some bonus strikes based on how far you traveled. Now your shred will just always have a chance to land additional strikes, but it's going to roll that randomness 4 times. So if you get real lucky on your shred, you're going to hit so many times on that target, which really helps amplify the fantasy of werewolves striking
man.
fast, striking multiple times.
People will
this
find a
aspect
way to
is
break
super
that.
fun to play.
I
And
guarantee
absolutely
it.
love what the art team did with this, combining the mechanics of that feedback on the extra strikes with the actual additional slashes going out. It looks awesome.
All right, on to the Rogue. So the Rogue was a very strong class on the PTR. We thought it was in a great spot, very powerful, particularly with Rain of Arrows.
Yeah.
Rain of Arrow builds were already a pretty common, pretty powerful build before the season, but with the new changes to introduce the additional scaling damage on it, they were just absolutely top.
Yeah.
So I will say that, of course, as part of addressing the ultimate changes across the board, we did bring down the scaling a little bit on Rain of Arrows, but we do think that it's still going to be a very compelling choice. Rogue and ultimate skills are going to be just fine going forward into the season.
It'll be good.
Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about Shadow Clone. I know I teased that earlier with the summons update. Shadow Clone was probably one of the biggest updates in this season to really make sure it worked with all of your damage, all of your bonus effects, all of your procs, and especially work with a lot of your legendary effects that modify your skills. So previously, if you had, say, if you're using Flurry and you had the aspect of encircling blades that would cause Flurry to hit all around you, your Shadow Clone wouldn't know that you have that. It would just kind of attack like a normal Flurry. With this update, it'll now copy all of your legendary effects.
That
Just
was
as
an
if you were
issue for a
casting the
long
skill
time.
yourself, it comes from the Shadow Clone, and it works with all of those modifications.
And that's huge.
Absolutely
It's a
huge.
lot more damage.
Yeah.
Good. So they
Really
finally
think,
fixed Shadow
I love
Clone.
Rain of Arrows. I love Death Trap, the other ultimate options on Rogue, but I think Shadow Clone, it's its time to shine
It
this
is.
season.
Shadow Clone hit the gym.
Absolutely.
Well, I
Let's take
mean, you guys
look at a
broke
clip
it and
of,
never
the
fixed
new
it.
Shadow Clone in action. So here we've got the aspect of Circling Blades, the Flurry that I had mentioned earlier.
Nice.
Oh, baby.
Doing the big
Oh, I
AoE
like
around
that.
both you and the Shadow Clone.
Yeah, I like
Additionally,
that a
with,
lot.
Twisting Blades, when they come back and orbit around you, that Blade Dancers aspect, they'll also come back and orbit around your Shadow Clone.
Wonderful.
Oh my god, it actually
Charles, you're
works.
gonna make me do a rogue flurry
That is
shadow clone build
badass.
this season.
Yeah, it should be great.
Oh
Let
man,
me
the
know how
rogue
that
just got
works
even
out.
stronger.
All right, on to the Necromancer. So the Necromancer was probably the class that benefited most from a bug with the scaling of the ultimates. As I mentioned, there were some scaling with different stats, and whenever there was 2 stats involved, particularly on...
Dude, 2 seasons ago, the Necromancer was great. Like, what? I don't understand why these guys can't seem to figure out how to balance the Necro. Because it feels like every single season, they are changing something to the Necro, like, significantly. But they had it right 2 seasons ago. So I have no clue why they're doing this again. They need to just leave the Necro alone. Buff the minions a little bit and just let it be what it is. It's a Necro. You know, your minions are supposed to be strong. I don't understand why they're trying to make all of these crazy builds for the Necro, like the blood build and all that crap. I don't get it. Just buff the minions, man. You guys, again, you had it 2 seasons ago, and then you nerfed it into oblivion again. For what reason? Why did you do that?
Army of the Dead, then it was actually increasing the damage far higher than we had intended. So we have fixed that bug,
Bro, come
and we've
on.
addressed it. But with that in mind, Necromancer is definitely the biggest benefit of the summons update. I know Shadow Clone is great, but you know, Necromancer is the summons class.
Yes.
So they have by far the most. All of their skeletons and their golems are now going to much more consistently interact with your lucky hit procs, your bonus damage effects. Anything that, you know, increases your damage output will also increase the damage output of your minions. And on the whole, we really expect the summon Necromancer to be at its peak going into this season.
Amazing.
So channeling my Adam Jackson here. Minion stomps high.
Minion stomps are absolutely going up this season, for sure.
Good.
Additionally, we've got some new, just like the Sorcerer, we've got 2 uniques that talk to Bloodwave, the unique, or the legendary, the ultimate skill. We've got 2 different unique pants that can enhance your Bloodwave in different ways. Let's take a look at a clip of those.
How many people are watching?
So first we've got Indriel's Memory.
this stream on the
and this is
Blizzard
going to be kind of
channel
your standard
now.
Bloodwave. You know, it still flies forward, but when it hits the end, it's going to trap enemies in a bone prison. Additionally, it modifies your bone spear to also become a blood skill. Now you've got a blood spear.
Right.
And with the inherent affix here, casting your
3.9K,
bone spear
that ain't
reduces
nothing.
blood waves cooldown. It really promotes the synergy between blood and bone, and you're gonna get a nice loop of, hey, cast the blood wave, and then trap them in that bone prison. Hey, that's perfect for lining up this blood spear. And by casting that, you're going to reduce the cooldown in a blood wave to be ready for the next pack.
Right. This unique alone really makes blood and bone, like a blood and bone build, come alive, which is cool.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
The alternative, you could use Kasemi's Legacy. This
Blood
one
spear.
changes blood wave. Instead of 1 wave going forward, you've got 2 crashing in from both sides. And
That's
it's going to
cool.
pull enemies towards you, and when it hits, it's going to do a big pulse of damage in the middle.
That's
I like
awesome.
that.
It's so cool. It's very
I actually do
transformational
like
in the way
that.
you think about it, the way you position it, and what your use case is, right? It's not for pushing enemies away. It's for bringing them in close and really wanting to be in the thick of combat there.
Yeah, it really makes me think about like a more melee or close range centered necro build, whereas
Yeah.
Indira's Memory makes me think about a range necro build.
Absolutely. This is, you know, pulls them in, perfect for setting up a blood surge to hit enemies right around you. So definitely looking forward to see, you know, a blood wave being played in a number of different ways in this new season. And finally, we've got the Spiritborn, of course, our newest class, which is very strong. It was very strong in the previous season, or what's currently live on Season 6. We did some adjustments to some of the bugged interactions.
So it says minimal changes there. If anything, I guarantee you one thing. If they did not do very many changes on the Spiritborn, it's because they literally want the Spiritborn to be the strongest character in the game so that you'll buy the expansion. That is purely money-based. I guarantee it.
That was causing their damage to scale way higher than intended, as well as a handful of nerfs across the board going into the PTR. That being said, on the PTR, we still found them to be a very strong class, arguably still the strongest. So with that in mind, we didn't really make too many changes. We really wanted to make sure that we brought some of the other classes up to that level, and we think the Spiritborn is in a good place. So there was actually very minimal amount of numerical adjustments to Spiritborn going into this season. With that in mind, I wanted to highlight the Razor Wings build. There's a new unique item, the Sun-Stained War Crozier, as well as a new aspect, the aspect of Endless Talons. That's going to really help enhance this Razor Wing build. I think we've got a clip of that. So we've got the Sun-Stained War Crozier, and that's going to enhance all of your focus skills. They automatically benefit from all of their upgrades. You don't need to invest skill points in there. And by casting it, you increase the damage of your potency skill, your Razor Wings, whenever you're casting focus skills.
As Razor Wings is a potency skill.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to seeing how this Razor Wings was maybe a little bit underrepresented on the current season, and we're really looking forward to this unique and the new legendary to really bring it up to par.
Yeah, Spiritborn looks like it's still broken as fuck.
Class updates, and once again, I kind of went at high level for each class because the actual number of changes were rather, there's a lot more that we didn't want to just throw up all the numbers for every single class. So I kind of painted a broad picture. Make sure you check out the patch notes for the actual changes that should be coming right after this stream.
Yeah, the patch notes are massive, so buckle up for those. They're quite long. If we
sure.
went through those, that would be like a 4-hour stream. So,
Right.
yeah. But dive into those post-stream, absolutely.
Luckily for some of the occult gems and witch power updates, we could fit kind of all the changes onto the side, so we're going to go into a bit more numbers here. So let's take a look at what we made updates on the occult gems. I think on the whole, occult gems were pretty strong. They were really hitting that mark of they were appealing to put into your jewelry, the rings and the amulet. They give you a lot of defense and a lot of other bonuses. Some of the bonuses maybe a touch high, so we brought some of them down by just a little bit.
Right.
We still think on the whole these are going to be really exciting moments to be able to craft these once you get those heads.
They should have made these charms.
I really like to call out the update to Witching Hour here at the end. This is a occult gem that modifies your core skill to gain the Eldritch tag, and that enables some really interesting synergies that you'll be able to explore once you get your hands on the full witchcraft system. But when it had a timer of 5 seconds in order to do this, it was really hard to build around.
Yeah.
And now reducing that down to 1 second means you can much more consistently benefit from this effect, and it really opens up the build possibilities with the Witching Hour occult gem.
It was a bit too slow paced for how fast Diablo 4 is right now, but with 1 second on the timer, it should be a lot more playable.
Yeah, it is pretty fast. It's way faster than PoE, that's for
witch
sure.
powers themselves, and for the witch powers, we think in general these were probably a touch weaker than we'd like. So across the board, there's some numerical improvements, especially on the poison frog servant. My favorite,
yes.
the little frog.
The wee
that's following-
beastie.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, he got a big buff. Love that guy following us around and spitting the poison and exploding if he ever dies.
Yep.
So yeah, on the whole, we think witch powers were pretty good. I love how flashy they are in particular, and just how impactful they look and feel. Art team did a great job with all of these.
Knocked it out of the park.
I
All right,
suppose.
and with that in mind, there's also still one additional new witch power that we did not have on the PTR.
Ooh,
Yes, we've got the Force of Will. Now, this is a psyche witch power that empowers your overpowers. When you kill an enemy, your next overpower is going to gain some increased damage up to a maximum. And if you rank it up to at least rank 4, it'll empower your next 2 overpowers.
Excellent.
This was one that we were not able to get out on the PTR in time. It had some issues, but it was being in development. But for the actual season launch, we're going to have this out there and available. We know it kind of really rounds out the roster of which powers that were available.
Yep.
We had one less psyche power than the others. This is the last one. And we didn't really have too much support in there for overpower builds, and now we do.
Voila.
So really excited about this one and help to empower overpower. All right, so I think that wraps up all of our balance changes. Once again, check out the patch notes for the exact details. But hope this, gets your minds turning for
No
build
need.
crafting for next
No
week
need
when the season
whatsoever.
launches.
Yeah, there is absolutely a ton to chew on. Like, I went into the stream absolutely thinking I was going to roll Spiritborn again, and now I'm thinking I'm going to have to go Barb or Shadowclone Rogue. Like,
Those are
yeah.
so sweet.
I've got my decisions cut up for me. That's
That
for
is
sure.
true.
Absolutely.
And with the armory, you're going to be able to pick, one class and a bunch of builds from all of them.
Aislinn, I think what better thing to
You
get
stop
into now
patting
than
yourself on the
tell us about
back for
armor?
putting on a
Oh,
feature
yeah,
that should have
love
been in the game to begin with,
so,
please.
For those who don't know, the armory is a tool that you can use
Oh, God.
to basically save a loadout that you've constructed.
You think we don't know this? You
you're
think
gonna
we
be able
can't
to
figure
save
that
your
out?
skills that you've picked. You're going to be
Really?
able to save the equipment you've used. You're going to be able
I
to
knew
save
what it
the
was the
Paragon
second I
points you've
looked at
put
it.
in. And you're going to be able to imprint it onto one of these slots in the armor you see on the left here in this image. Like this build, or excuse me, this character has Crush Hand, Touch of Death, or Touch Death, Quill, Razor Wings, and Payback. So, you know, this is a Spiritborn that has saved a bunch of different builds there. It's really wonderful because, you know, if you want to try a different build, like if you want to try Touch of Death, but you've spent a really long time working on Crushing Hand, you don't have to worry about changing all of that manually anymore with the armory. You can just do it automatically. Once you've created that build, you save it, and then you can swap to it whenever you want. These loadout slots are also character bound. So, you know, you make a Spiritborn, and then you decide you later want to swap to a Necro or, you know, whatever. You're going to be able to ensure that you have a lot of variety to play in each character class. Another thing about loadouts is that they don't cost gold to change, so you're not going to have a bunch of significant gold overhead when you're actually swapping these, so you don't have to worry about that at all, which is very nice.
Okay.
The armory can be accessed through a bunch of different places in Sanctuary as well.
I already know what it is.
Major cities, the Dark
Whoops,
Citadel,
wrong buttons.
the Tree of Whispers, of course, which is a major focus. Paragon levels in the seasonal realm, once the season is over, are going to be added to your Eternal Realm your Eternal Realm Paragon level. So if you earn a bunch of Paragon XP in Season 6, and then Season 6 ends, all of that Paragon XP is going to be added to your Eternal Paragon level, which is
I thought they already did
reaching,
that.
Paragon level 300 a lot more attainable for a lot of folks on the Eternal Realm, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you just get progress every season over season on your Eternal Realm Paragon to make sure you can really reach the heights of that, even if you're just a seasonal player for the most part.
Yep.
When you hop into Eternal Realm, all of that progress is going to be carried over.
Yeah, and it's actually going to be really nice because I think the way I like to think about it is it's even if you don't play on the
This has
Eternal
been a
Realm,
big nothing
it's kind
burger
of
so
like
far. I'm sorry.
a window into like how much you've played the game and how much effort you've put in, and like you get to look at that number and be like, oh, like that just gets higher and higher. It's great. Next up, we have some unique power roll updates. So something that you might notice when you are finding unique items is that if they roll ancestral and they drop with greater affixes, that doesn't affect the actual unique power roll itself in any way. So it was possible to find, for example, a 3 or 4 greater affix unique, but then the actual power roll itself min-rolled. And that could feel pretty deflating.
Oh, yeah.
Because you would get really excited that you found a unique that you wanted that had like all the GAs, and then you look and it doesn't actually feel very usable because the power roll itself was very low. We're changing this in Season 7. So now the power roll floor changes based on the number of greater affixes that the unique has. So the more greater affixes it has, the higher guaranteed roll on the unique power you're going to get. So when you do see that 3 or 4 greater affix unique you want, you know it's going to absolutely slap, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. That was always a little bit of a frustrating experience when you get really excited for an item drop, but then you're like, well, is it really better than what I currently have? You know, you had to stop and think about that based on the affixes and the unique power roll. But now,
it's called
if
ARPGs.
you get a 3 or 4 GA, hey, you know it's going to be powerful. It may not be guaranteed to be the best one, but it's going to be one of the more powerful rolls.
Yeah, absolutely. And next up, we have some other ancestral item changes. So something you may have noticed if you were playing a lot of Season 6 is that ancestral items are the only ones that can have the top aspect rolls. And what that meant was that those ancestral items were still rolling randomly. So like, let's just say for the sake of argument that a non-ancestral item with an aspect could roll up to rank 8 on that aspect. But then the ancestral version could roll up to rank 11. That ancestral item was still randomly, like totally randomly rolling among all the different ranks. And that made it seem really, 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 what didn't seem, it was very rare to find the top end of these aspect rolls, which actually wasn't the case in previous seasons. And we were all feeling that in Season 6. And for the completionists out there and the people who want to make sure that they have the best version of the aspects that they can, we wanted to make sure that we changed that. So now...
Dude, like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you force yourself to play this game for literally thousands of hours just to get the perfect roll on one of these items in Diablo 4? Like, Well, you don't even need it for anything, man. You can finish all of the end game content even if you don't have a perfect role. Now, at least with like Diablo, there's Diablo 2, I mean, like there's classes that literally still cannot beat the Ubers even when you're at the end of your build line. So, I feel bad for those people.
Now, when you find these ancestral items, they are going to gravitate more towards the top end of those aspect roles, and it should be much easier to actually fill out your collection of aspects than it was before in Season 6.
Just bring back Sacreds.
And then, as just a totally separate but wonderful thing, we were working on like how often ancestral items should actually drop as a baseline, and we've just bumped that up in Season 7. So you should, in general, find more ancestral items than you did before. And this is like something that feels very small, but has a big impact on the season as a whole. So that should feel a lot better in Season 7 as well. And finally, something else that we were noticing in Season 6 was that people were finding tons and tons of gem fragments, and sometimes even capping out their gem fragments if you played enough. And this problem was exacerbated in Season 6, and we want to make sure that you have something to do with those gem fragments. So we created a gem fragment conversion at the Jewel Crafter. So we have a little clip to just show what that looks like here. So we're in Zarbinzad as a sorcerer, and we're next to the jeweler. We're going to talk to them. There's a little tab where you can go
Looking
to
like
jeweler
Elsa
crafting.
from Frozen right there.
And once you're in the late game and you've already crafted all your grand gems, and you don't actually have much to do with your gem fragments anymore, now you can just directly convert them into jewelry. So you can craft rings and you can craft amulets, and it will give you a little cache that will have a randomly rolled item. And this is just, again, it's a nice dump, basically, once you want to just, once you finish all your grand gems and you just want to find some extra gear. And these can roll as ancestral items, which is wonderful. And amulets and rings can, they have a wide range of potentially useful stats. And so being able to just roll those more is really nice because you can actually like target farm the things you need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really excited for that.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
Finally,
Yep, yeah.
we have some kind of more quality of life centered or early game updates that should be really nice going forward season over season. So now that we're in Season 7 of Diablo 4, it's possible that you may have made a character of any given class and you might be doing it again. And it's not always the most fun to go through the same content over and over. And so because of that, we wanted to make sure that you didn't actually have to do your class quest.
Awesome. Praise the Lord.
To unlock your class mechanic every single time you
Praise
make
the
a new
Lord.
character. So for example, if you made a sorcerer and you unlocked enchantments previously, you're not actually going to have to do that again.
Thank you,
so when
Jesus.
you hit level 15 on a new sorcerer in any realm, you're immediately going to unlock an enchantment slot.
Oh, God.
Because the game knows that you already did that before.
That's great.
You can, however, still do the class quest if you would like, but you do
Nah,
not
I'm
have
good.
to.
Never again.
And again,
Nope,
just
nope.
to reiterate,
Never again.
you do have to do the class quest at least once on any character, and then on your account, it's unlocked forever.
I've done that shit like 30 times.
And to go along with this change, we have a new cache that we like to call archetype cache, or archetype caches, rather. So these are basically themed goodie bags. So they come from a variety of sources. You're going to get an archetype cache when you complete the class quest. You're going to get
That's
them
a good
periodically
update.
over the course of the season journey from different chapters.
Good
And then
update for
eventually
what?
you're going to start earning the regular archetype caches as well.
My
which are
bad,
better
yeah.
stuff.
You mean about
And we
not
have a
having to
clip
do the
here
class
basically
quest?
just show
Yep,
off what an
I
archetype
agree.
cache looks like and what doing your class quest
Bro.
looks like in season.
That is literally the only W this stream has gotten from me so far, man. Literally, that is the only one I've really liked. Other than that, like, everything else is just copy-pasted, and they gave us a freaking raven that flies around. And they were all, like, excited about it, man. Like, they were like, wow, ravens, man. But yeah,
Season 7.
that one's a W.
So we have a level 15 sorcerer here who's just going to go and do their class quest, which is the Legacy of the Magi over here. And the reason that this character might want to do the class quest still, even though let's assume that they have already made a sorcerer and have already
I don't want
unlocked
to
their
do that.
enchantment, is because they're going to be getting an archetype cache. So we're going to go through, we're just going to do all
good.
the,
I don't
the
need it.
stuff for
I
Legacy
don't
of the
need it.
Magi, get through the dungeon. But then at the end, we're going to get an archetype cache.
Facts.
And archetype caches have
Bro,
items and a
Earlier in the stream, They were saying that people from the PTR were calling the new season mechanic, like the quest line part of it. What was it? Witch Tides or something like that. And they were like laughing about it. And I'm like, bro, your own players are telling you to your face that your season mechanic is a copy paste of Hell Tides, and you're proud of it? You're proud of that? Like, what the hell are these guys thinking?
Tempering manual that are relevant to a specific theme of any given class. And so I'm glad we have Sorcerer here because the Sorcerer themes are very straightforward. For example, Pyromancy or Fire is one of the themes in Sorcerer. So here we see we have a Pyromancy cache that we got from completing the class quest. We're going to open it up. It's got 2 legendary items, a tempering manual, and some extra materials like bundled herbs and angel breath, and etc. Because it was a
Ain't no one
Pyromancy
care about
cache,
that.
it came with a utility and a more offensive-focused legendary that are related to being a Pyromancy sorcerer.
Still not enough to
it
get
also
me
came
to
with
play.
a Pyromancy-related
Nope.
tempering manual. So that really helps you get started on your journey as like a fire sorcerer. So if you find something like that, you're right out of the gate level 15, you're going to get a big jump in power, and you're going to be able to dive into like what it means to be a fire sorcerer pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think what I really like about this change is that, if you're just playing a new character, you're in the flow, you're doing the headhunts, you're leveling up.
1W, 16 Ls.
Hit level 15, right? You think, oh, now I got to go do this quest, otherwise I'm missing out on power.
You know why they're doing this? Because they only go to level 15. They don't play the end game, guys. They literally play up to level 15. And that's why they think the game's good. It all makes sense now.
And sometimes, you're in that flow. You don't want to stop and shift gears and go do that class quest. You now can do it on your own time, right?
Yeah.
You can instantly unlock that power from the class mechanic.
Yep.
And then whenever you get a chance, whenever you think, hey, I want to go do this quest, you can go do it and then feel rewarded for getting a nice archetype cache that really maybe pushes you in a certain direction if you're unsure of how you want to build your character. Can help to enhance, the pyromancy, like you mentioned.
Yep, or frost, or lightning, or every class has its own themes, so it's going to be fun to dig into that.
I guess.
Cool.
All right.
Awkward
That's
silence
awesome.
time.
Yeah, I think even for that like early game too, like when you're kind of scrounging for materials and uniques, it is kind of difficult to like hit that next power level. So knowing that you
Right.
have like a guaranteed, now optional quest to go to get that power in. I can speak for Twitch chat too. They were very, very excited to see that you did
Nice.
not have to do the class
Oh,
quest
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But
Praise
that
the
it gives
Lord.
you this optional, power boost in a single
Yeah,
direction.
we wanted to make sure that it like wasn't worthless if you had already done it a lot. We wanted to make sure that there was still something there to feel like it was a meaningful quest. So-
Should have
But not
never been in the
good that you
game to
feel like
begin
you're
with.
missing out if you're
Exactly. Exactly.
taking care of things over in the headhunts and things like that.
Yep.
Well, that brings us to our Q&A portion of the stream. So we're going to bring Dan Tangway back, and we're going to answer some of your hard-hitting questions. So thank you for everyone who have dropped questions in Twitch chat throughout the stream.
These are going to be
I've also been
cherry-picked,
laughing at
easy
your
questions. I
commentary
guarantee it.
throughout. Pretty good.
I guarantee it.
So first off, I want to drop a question from Doggo. Asked, will there be a mid-season patch with balance changes?
Please,
Yeah, I
God,
can talk
no.
about that. We are currently planning to have a mid-season balance patch like we do every season. I just want to reiterate some of the philosophy around mid-season patches as well.
They need to stop doing this shit, and I'll tell you why. Last season, they nerfed the Spirit-born Evade-born class. And I had already spent hours working on that character. And halfway through the season, they came in and they made it so that the Spirit-born's evade doesn't come out as fast, which completely broke my build. And once that happened, I just stopped playing. It is so frustrating to play this game and get a character up to a certain level, right? And then for them to come in with the mid-season patch and just nerf it into the ground because of some stupid error on their end. The only reason they ever needed to actually fix that build was because the Spiritborn, his evade could cancel out of the animation. And it was literally causing server lag. It was breaking their game. So think about this, guys. They broke their own game by actually making a character that had broken frames. Imagine if a fighting game had a character with broken frame data. People would be livid, right? People would be so mad, dude, because that character would be hella powerful. But here's the thing. They did it, and not only did they do it, but then it broke their own servers. So they had to nerf it. But it's annoying as fuck, man, when you actually go in there and play, and you are playing for hours, and then they come out with this patch, and they just say, nope, even though we know that you guys found a way to make this character fun, we're going to make sure that it's not fun because we're about to nerf it. So this needs to go away. I don't mind if you guys want to update the game at every season, but it is not fun at all to have the character that you've been working for so long to actually get up and make it playable and then just tell us, nope, you can't play as that character. Why not, man? Because you broke your own game? Here's an idea. Don't go into a game. Don't go into a new season for the game unless you have already tested everything out and made sure. How did that even get by? How do you not know that you broke your own evade animation for a character? Like, if there's people testing the game, how do you not find that? And you're Blizzard. Like, you're not an indie dev studio. You are effing Blizzard. And yet you still have no way of knowing that you guys forgot to fix the evade cancellation on Spiritborn? How did that even get into the game in the first place? So yeah, dude, like this is lame. Real good explanation on why the mid-season patch is bad makes complete sense. I hate when game devs do that. Yeah, no, for real though. Like it really pisses me off. And that is the number one reason why I'm not even playing D4 right now. It is because of that. Like, sorry for the rant, but that shit
For our
pisses me
mid-season
off.
patches, we're mainly looking at taking the data from when the season launches. So honestly, we haven't started looking at the mid-season patch at all because it's so heavily driven by what actually happens when the season launches. What builds are performing well, what builds are not performing well. If there's anything that is bugged or broken to the point where, you know, it's trivializing the game, that might be something we look at. In general, for mid-season patches that happen, well, in the middle of the season, we're primarily looking to bring up the underperformers or fix issues of interactions that maybe aren't quite seeing the spotlight that we were expecting them to. We're not really looking to take the top builds and nerf them.
Right.
Because we know players have already had time to invest in their characters. They've got the gear, they've leveled it up, they've you know,
that's
read
bullshit.
build guides like, hey, how do I make this character? And we feel like if we're taking those down in the middle of a season, that really does a disservice to players that, you know, you are afraid of making the powerful thing because it might get nerfed in the mid-season. So that's something we avoid. There, of course, sometimes...
This motherfucker just said they don't do that. This guy just straight up told us that they don't do that. Like, this guy's lying to our faces, man. Are you serious right now? What the hell?
Rare exceptions when they're so far above our power bar or they are literally breaking the game due to performance-related issues, which occasionally pop up. Those things we still will address when we need to, but in general, mid-season patches are not for nerfing strong builds.
You mean when you break your own game?
And that's partly why
you mean when you break your own
we knew
game?
that
That's what you mean.
Spiritborn was a very powerful class. Like no getting around it. It was definitely stronger than the other classes.
You don't say.
On season 6.
You don't say.
But that was okay. We didn't want to make any kind of snap judgment of like, oh, we need to nerf it here in mid-season. We know players have been invested into it, and we want to respect their time and investment into that.
It's important that there's a sense of security in picking a build and knowing that it is going to stay viable when you're playing it throughout the season.
Yeah, and kind of as a corollary to that, whenever we do seasonal
as
updates,
a coronary
like launch
to that.
a brand new season, that is more when we're going to look and say, hey, what is dramatically overperforming? What is crowding out the rest of the roster? Like Spiritborn during season 6 was maybe crowding out some of the other classes.
Yeah.
We take the seasonal resets as a time to say that's when we're going to bring those builds down. And that's when everyone is starting fresh on the new season. And so you're not losing that much of time investment if it's starting all fresh again.
Yeah. And on the system side, in terms of mid-season changes, It's really important to us that we have a very targeted approach to systemic changes in mid-season patches. We want to make sure that we are gathering as much data as possible and as much information as we can to ensure that any tweaks we make aren't going to cause waves or changes that we weren't expecting or are undesirable. So we really want to gather as much like telemetry and data as possible from like how people are actually experiencing the season, and then kind of patch those pain points that people that we all find together, and we want to wait to make sure that we're doing it right. So we really want to know how people are going to be playing Season of the Witchcraft, and then we'll basically figure out what needs to happen and change from there.
Yeah, and that's why so much of the feedback from PTR, or even
I feel like these guys are lying straight to my face right now.
We really do listen to it, and it's so important to us to make sure that we can make Diablo 4 as best as we possibly can. It's really critical that we get that feedback and we're able to iterate on that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That is a super thorough answer for the mid-season patch.
Yes.
I mean, like I'll take all the
super
information
corporate
you got, so
answer.
Fantastic. This one's probably for you, Aislinn, from. Oh boy. Okay, bear with me here. Sagan, do the class quest caches scale to the level when they're opened?
Oh, yes, they absolutely do. So you can get it early or you can get it later. But
Who
the
cares?
archetype caches that you find in the class quest aren't actually the only place you can find archetype caches. You're going to be able to get more from
I'm never
the
doing it
season
again. I
journey,
don't
and
care,
other
lady.
sources as well. So they're not exactly like a super finite supply. So you don't have to think too hard about like exactly when you should be opening them. The class quest is just one among many sources that you can earn an archetype
Nice.
cache.
You don't have to like sit on it throughout the whole season to be like, all right, when am I going to pop this thing?
Yeah.
And nice to have some extra goodies as you're on your way to get Dorian the Raven. Of course. That.
See, the
yeah,
Ravens,
that's
they're like
the
the
thing.
coolest
I
thing.
mean, I don't want to say, but
That's
Dorian's
all they
pretty
care
cool.
about. They think they're so
Also,
cool
on a
because they made
similar
a
thread,
Raven
the Collector
pet.
Casey asks, is the class quest unlock retroactive as of right now, or
Man, so they have all this time to make the game better. And so there's somebody like in a corporate office somewhere that's like, hey guys, you know what we need to do? You know what's going to save the game? You know what's going to make people happy? A Raven as a pet. And then there was literally somebody out there who was like, that's a great idea. Like, what? What? Are you serious?
only after we complete it this season?
Yeah, so as long it's retroactive. So as long as you've
Nice.
completed, you've done the sorcerer quest before on a sorcerer at any point during Diablo, you're good to go.
Nice. From the Discord, Bacterial, cool name. Can we expect the summon tag to work with minion thorns? And any update on bristleback aspect working with minions?
Awkward silence.
I believe they should. I'd have to look into precisely minion thorns. I know
Don't
that
ask
was
these guys. They don't have
stat
an
that,
idea.
Your
They're
summons
just
can
devs. It's
inherit
not like they
thorns.
make the game.
That was a stat that I'd have to look into exactly bristleback aspect. But as a general matter, our philosophy on minion thorns and minions in general is if you think it should work, it should. The interactions of when you deal thorns damage, it should, if your minions are the ones triggering that thorns damage, it should count as if you had dealt it. I don't have that right in front of me, that particular interaction, but that is our philosophy. And if that's not happening, then we'll look to address it and improve that moving forward.
Cool. Thank you. Just had a question from...
He literally gave a
Alien
non-answer.
Are there plans to reduce visual clutter, such as an opacity slider? I love Sorcerer and Spiritborn, but the visual effects are hindering my party.
They are pretty bad.
I think that would probably be something that we would have to talk to the UI team about and the folks over in VFX. It's something that we've been grappling with throughout the life of Diablo because, there's so much happening, especially when you have an end-game build. And, if that gets so out of hand, like with new seasonal mechanics or new powers or legendary aspects that we create, it's something that we'll be taking a look at every time something like that comes up.
Yeah, I totally get it too, because like when you're playing Spiritborn, like you know what to look for as you're casting these abilities, but if you're just around it, then it can be a little overwhelming. Like when I have friends that come by that perhaps haven't played a Diablo game before, they're like, how do you know what to look at? It's like, you just gotta figure it out. But I could totally see how that could be.
So there's literally an option in the menu to give yourself like a colored highlight. So, I mean, again, like, do these guys not know that you can do that? That's all you have to do. Just go into the menu. I think it's under gameplay and player highlight, and then you can make it any color that you want, and you will always be able to see your character on screen. How do you guys made the game? How do you not know that that's a thing?
A bit of a distraction on the screen. Ooh, Anjin-san. For the Q&A, how do hydras work with the new summoning changes, and how does burning damage work in comparison to poison?
Yeah.
Another very technical question.
Yeah,
for you,
absolutely. So luckily, you know, I did include the sorcerer conjurations in the summons update when I talked about them.
Yep.
But actually, for the most part, the conjurations were already behaving this way, and that was part of the inconsistency that I kind of had glossed over. Said, hey, they were inconsistent, and you know, since now we're in the more technical part, the inconsistency was that most of the sorcerer conjurations were already behaving the way that we wanted them to,
Right.
Where the damage was being attributed to the player, and it was actually the Necro minions and Shadow Clone and Druid companions primarily that were not as interactive as we would have liked.
Right.
So with that in mind, there's actually no real functional changes to the way that Hydra works with this. I don't believe Hydra was really touched, but it was actually used as kind of the example of how we wanted to implement and make the other summons work.
One question I do want to take really quickly that I've seen throughout chat, I mean, it was really hard to ignore. People are asking where Adam was. I mean, I think we just have to address it straight up. Adam Fletcher is no longer with Blizzard, which is really too bad. So you won't really be seeing him in a whole lot of other streams. So really sorry to disappoint chat, but you're stuck with us. Just kidding.
Oh, you asshole.
He's been here the whole
Oh my God, it's Adam.
Just
All right,
kidding.
he got
Just
me.
kidding.
I'm not gonna lie,
Adam's
he actually got me.
Adam in the room.
I was
with
like,
us
what the
right
hell?
now.
Yeah.
You're just gonna drop that on everybody
To be
in the
clear,
middle of
Adam
a
has
stream?
literally sat 2 feet to the left this entire
was a
time.
W.
Just like
just
for the
been there.
whole stream.
That was a
checking
W
out,
for them.
watching
I
chat,
gotta
so,
admit it.
Yeah,
All right, yeah, that was a
Adam
good
is here
one.
to stay. Do not
Holy
worry.
crap.
All right. We'll do that. All right. Love from Judith. Stash space is already a problem for anyone running multiple characters.
Yes.
Are there any plans to change armory loadouts so that they will not be stored in stash?
You know, it's something. The armory is very new. We knew that the community really
Wait.
wanted the armory, and so we wanted it to.
Wait. So your loadout will be like a literal stash item? Really? Why is that a thing? Why is that a thing? Like, why? How have you guys not come up with a way around that yet?
Get out a version of it that we, was serviceable to get started. But we know it's a really important topic for the community. So it's something that we're going to continuously look at. And we're going to be looking a lot at feedback on the armory to make sure that it's as smooth as possible all the time. And to that end, we will be taking that into consideration. No concrete plans right now, but it's something, it's one of the topics that we have. And our ultimate goal is to make the armory just basically the most streamlined version of itself that it can be. So look for armory improvements in the future for sure.
Awesome, cool. And we got our last question for the Q&A. This is actually a two-parter for both of you. We have Poseidon Bobby was asking Charles, does your shirt glow in the dark?
Bro, these are trash
No,
questions.
I haven't tried, but
Are you
looks
serious?
It looks like it might.
It looks like it should.
Garbage,
Like
garbage
glow-in-the-dark
questions.
bullets for sure would light up.
I am being told it doesn't.
Why
and
even
I
have a
demand
Q&A
refund.
section?
I would like to get a glow-in-the-dark Lilith shirt now.
What a ripoff, man.
And then on a similar vein, Aislinn, radiobiology was asking, can you buy that sweater?
I do like that
Can you
sweater.
buy this wonderful holiday Lilith's Christmas sweater? I don't know.
Adam is saying it's sold out.
It's sold out. It's sold out. Sold out for
damn,
over a
okay.
year. This is
All
a
right.
one of a
man.
kind.
We did have a different holiday sweater this past year, so there should, hopefully be another holiday sweater next year. No guarantees. But,
Yeah.
But if you do see those holiday sweaters in the shop, get them before they're gone.
There's always really wonderful merch online for
Yeah.
Diablo. I love taking a look at it. So if you like Diablo merch and you want something like this, definitely check it periodically.
Definitely grab it. Well, yeah, that brings us to the end of the stream. I want to give a really big thank you to
Trash.
Aislinn, Charles, Dan Tangway.
Not
thank
a
you so
very
much
good
for hanging
stream
out with us all
whatsoever.
the way in snowy Albany, New York. I hope it's not.
They're really not
too
going to have
terribly
anything
cold,
else.
up
Not too
there.
bad.
Okay, glad to hear it. Glad
I
to
have
hear
to
it.
say that room looks freezing. It's like a
Yeah,
dungeon.
it does look very cold.
It's a little chilly. Yeah.
I'm
I
a
got
little
my
worried.
jacket on. I'm all right.
Good.
Nice, glad to hear it. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. And
You didn't miss a
Twitch,
goddamn thing.
YouTube, TikTok, everyone. Thank
Oh
you
my
for staying
God, really?
tuned and checking out everything that's to come with Season of Witchcraft. Like we mentioned throughout the stream, patch notes will be dropping after the stream. We did have our blog that launched on Tuesday.
I'm not even
as
going to
well.
read them.
Also, I got to
I'm
give
not
a
even gonna
massive
read the
shout-out
patch
again
notes,
to our
man.
production team. There's a lot of faces you don't see
Really?
that put a ton of blood, sweat, and tears
This is a
into
joke.
the show. These heads are absolutely disgusting, and I don't know if anybody needs more of a reason to brush your teeth, but you know, don't end up looking like that guy.
Please tell me that's not the end of the stream.
Season of Witchcraft does start on January 21st at 10 a.m. PST, so be sure to go in. And for anyone who hasn't yet completed
Next week.
your
All
season
right.
journey, your battle pass, check your seasonal stash or eternal stash as well before those items disappear. But yeah, we got Season of Witchcraft on January 21st. Super excited to
Wow.
get into it. Thank you from all of us here at Blizzard,
Wow.
and we will see you at the Trio Whispers.
Oh my
Thanks, guys.
God. That was really it? Oh my God. That was actually it. What the hell? Yeah, so nothing of any consequence whatsoever. Man, and earlier when I first started the stream, I was like, this is a make or break stream for Diablo 4. And it's not looking good for Diablo 4 whatsoever, man. Like, it's literally Hell Tides with a purple skin, a flying raven, and that was pretty much it. Like, the only good thing that they actually put into the game was you don't have to do your character quests now. That's it. Bro, it's really sad because I looked at Steam, man. There's like 2,000 people playing the game. And that was at the beginning of the last expansion. And also I was saying that, man, like what I'm afraid of is this game is dying so fast that the last expansion had like a cliffhanger at the end of it. And anybody who knows the history of Diablo would know that Diablo 3 was supposed to have more expansions, but at least the game devs for D3 had enough knowledge to know that they shouldn't end their game on a cliffhanger. But this new one is ending on a cliffhanger. So I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. There we go. Don't need this all the way up no more. Man, they really needed to hit it out of the park with this one, and they really didn't. So now I'm honestly worried for the future of D4. We literally might not even get another expansion for D4. The hype for D4 was so big back several years ago. Yeah, man, when the
This is too much of a nerf?
oh, auto started something else.
Or too-
Turn you off for a minute here. I'm not even sure who that is. Marco boy, what the fuck? Anyways, I guess I'll just go put it on my channel for the moment while I'm talking. Yeah, that was a craptastic stream, and I am relatively worried for the future till they launched it. Yeah. And what really sucks about it is like it has been getting better. It's in a much better place now than when it started, which I know is obvious. Hot take, I think right now it's a little better than Path of Exile 2, but that's only because Path of Exile 2 is not even a full release yet and has only been out for like a month. Given another 2 months in PoE 2 will probably be better than D4. But then again, it is like two separate styles. But the point is this stream was such trash that I honestly think that they are probably going to cancel the next expansion. Because why are you going to make expansions for a game that isn't being played, right? And this is a company that we all know only really cares about money. So all they want to do is make money on this game. And if they can't sell skins, which are astronomically too high, they want like $25 for one skin, then why would they continue to support this game? I think this season right here proves that they already have lost faith in Diablo 4. because all they did was give us basically vampire powers from season 2. They gave us a witch tide, which is a purple themed version of a hell tide, and a raven, a flying raven. They gave us a couple powers from D3, but even those powers that they gave us from D3, the ones they pulled over from the Witch Doctor, are literally a copy and paste version of those powers from D3. I could probably make a video and look at both of the powers, right, side by side, and it's literally copy paste from D3. They probably won't downstream when they tried to cash grab with Immortal. Good thing that was banned in my country. Oh, dude, that was banned in your country? I should move to your country because, yeah, man. Diablo Immortal, don't even get me started on that. I was super pissed when they announced Diablo Immortal. If I was at that BlizzCon, I would have been one of those people booing and cheering for Red Shirt Guy when he asked about the out of season April Fool's joke. Yeah, yeah. This is not a good look for Blizzard, and I do not understand why they are doing this. How do you look at this and think to yourself, yeah, dude, this is good. You know, like this is gonna help us retain some play. Let's go look at Steam, man. Okay. Community hub. We got look at this, man. 4,500 people. Well, Belgium isn't that great either. Well, I mean, at least you guys don't got to worry about Diablo Immortal. I mean, do you guys allow loot boxes? I'm curious about that because that's another thing that really pisses me off, man, is loot boxes. Yeah, look at this. Only 4,500 people are actually playing this game right now. And if you are a corporate bigwig and you're looking at numbers like this, would you continue the franchise? Dude, they should have never ended that last DLC as a cliffhanger. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I will be pissed. I will go on the biggest rant ever if they just never conclude that storyline and they never give us Tyrael. Why is Tyrael not in the game? Like, okay, it's been 50 years. People think he's dead. He's not dead. I guarantee you he's not dead. We have no confirmation whatsoever in any canon, books, otherwise. It doesn't matter. He is not dead yet. And if he is, why would you just kill your biggest character off screen? At least they had the decency to kill Deckard Cain in the main campaign, right? So are they just gonna like, oh yeah, you know, Tyrael's just dead? They better not, man. That'd be effing ridiculous. The loot boxes were the reason it was banned. Yeah, man, it was ridiculous. It was like people were doing calculations, and it was like $100,000 before you actually got all your legendary gems in Diablo Immortal. You know, like let's look at a couple other games just to see if we can get some kind of comparison. So I am playing Dead House, but I'm not supposed to talk about that. I'm under NDA, so ignore that, please. How about Apex Legends? All right, this is another game. This is a perfect example. I'm happy the number looks like this. So there are 53,000 people playing Apex Legends right now. All right, compared to the 4,500 that are playing Diablo. People have been saying for months, if not years, that Apex is a dead game. Apex is a dead game, all right? So this is a dead game, and this is getting 53,000 players right now in the middle of a workday, right, in January. Going back to Diablo, pull that up one more time. They don't even have 5,000. That's really, really bad. That's really, really bad. True that about Kane. Was sad too, but at least we got to feel and live it. Yeah, bro, I was super sad about Deckard Cain. They should have never killed Deckard Cain. You know, that's a whole nother rant. Like when they killed Deckard, it felt like that was them being like, we don't want this to be the Diablo that you guys love. So we have to destroy everything you guys love and build new things, right? They took Tyrael's angelic powers away from him. They killed Deckard Cain. And then even his niece, who was somebody that we could have like looked at in the future as maybe a new Deckard, right? They kill her too. They kill her too. I'm still waiting for Steam to put D4 on sale for 90% off. Yeah, they do it all the time. I think it was a couple weekends ago they were like giving it away for free. I'm surprised you didn't jump on it then, or it might have just been a free weekend or something. I know you can play it on Game Pass now for free. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, you can play it on that. You can play the original Diablo on Game Pass too. But I mean, this stream, they really, really, really needed to do something to save Diablo 4. And in my opinion, they didn't. And I feel like this stream was a huge L. And I'm kind of sad about it. I am. At least I still have Diablo 2. Because Diablo 2 never lets me down, man. Even the worst mods of Diablo 2 are still better. Than Diablo 4. Hands down. I don't think anybody can dispute that. It's pretty crazy that a game that came out 20 years ago is still kicking the ass of devs that work in the modern day. Don't have the pass, but the free thing was temporary, I thought. Oh, it probably was a free weekend then. It probably what it was. I know I did see it on sale for like $5.99 back in not the holiday sale. It was back in the summertime, I think, actually. Or it might have been the spring sale. No, it couldn't have been the spring sale because it had just been released on Steam. I think it was the summertime sale. No, it was the autumn sale. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was during Thanksgiving. It was like $5.99. But even then you got to buy the expansion too. And speaking of the expansion, so they mentioned that they didn't do any nerfs really to the Spiritborn. And you know why? Because again, they want money. They know that the Spiritborn is the most broken class. And all they want is you to give them more money. So why would they nerf the reason why you would buy the expansion? I knew that wasn't going to happen. And I knew there was people saying, oh yeah, it's got to get nerfed. It's way too strong now, blah, blah, blah. I was like, bro, they ain't never going to nerf the Spiritborn. At least not till the next. That's when they'll nerf the Spiritborn. When the next expansion comes out, they will finally nerf the Spiritborn. But until then, I guarantee you it's not getting nerfed. Nope. Because they need that money. Yeah, so huge L, guys. Huge L. I don't understand what the hell these guys are thinking. I mean, I'm still going to play it, because I like just Diablo in general. But I'm going to tell you what, though, man. If they just shadow drop Diablo 2 Reimagined 2.0 at some point next week, then I probably am not going to be playing the new season of Diablo 4. If that happens, then it's pretty much donezo for me and Diablo 4 for a while, because bringing back some Witch Doctor class skills is not something I'm looking forward to, especially because I never even liked the Witch Doctor to begin with. My girl loves the Witch Doctor, but that's a whole nother story. I played 1 week for free before the expansion was out, but I didn't like it enough to invest. Rather play D2 till I die facts. That is facts right there, man. And the thing that's great about Diablo 2 is if you ever get bored with whatever version you're playing, there's still plenty of other mods, like straight up overhaul mods that you can play with Diablo 2. That's something I was touching on earlier, actually. Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained, but they're bringing in all these new uniques for Diablo 4, but the issue is still their affixes. I feel like they can't comprehend how to make good affixes on items, right? Because even now, the whole reason I don't just play and play and play for hours is because once I get, I don't know, like a couple of mythics, it's like, well, I don't really have anything else to do and I don't really feel like playing, right? But I mean, like with Diablo 2, I always felt like I could continue to grind, because even if I got the uniques I needed for whatever specific class I was playing currently, that doesn't mean that I can't find another, like, say I'm playing a sorceress and I find a Death's Web, right? At least in D2, I could look at that Death's Web and be like, bro, I need to go make a Poison Nova Necromancer now, because I just found Death's Web. But I don't feel like that in Diablo 4 whatsoever. Because like the affixes just aren't that great. Like the best affix in Diablo 4 is like cooldown reduction. Who really cares about cooldown reduction? How are they doing this? Like, why are they doing this with the damage on Tuesday shit, right? Like crowd control, damage to crowd control, things like that. Like I don't get it. It's why can't we have like faster cast rate and freaking? I know attack speed is an affix in D4, but more D2-esque affixes, I should say. Just rune words in non-modded D2. Yeah, bro. I'm happy you said that because actually, now that I think about it, that's another thing, right? That's great about D2. So in D4, we do have rune words now, we do, but there are only 2 runes each, and they're not that great. You know, and in Diablo 2, some of the best rune words in the game, you need like 5 to 6 different runes. So it was always fun when like a Zod rune dropped, or a Burr rune dropped, or a Jaw rune dropped, right? Or a Cham, even though I think I've seen that literally once while playing Diablo 2. It was cool to find those because as soon as you found it, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to make an item that is going to just elevate my character up to the next level. But I never feel that way in Diablo 4. I don't understand why they would bring rune words into D4 and then not capitalize on the rune word system itself. They entered, or they put a bastardized version of rune words into Diablo 4. They didn't actually put real rune words in the D4, and I feel like they really missed an opportunity that they had there to make D4 even better. Imagine how cool it would be if you could find really good rune words. Like, why are there only 2 sockets, man? Like, give us more. And you know what sucks about that even more is a lot of it, and I don't know why they don't tell most people this, but a lot of it is simply because they don't know how to make a game. Now, hear me out on this. A lot of it is memory issues with the game itself. When you're in town and somebody else walks up to you, the game has to load the entire inventory of the guy that just walked up to you. And because of that, it causes server lag. And when it causes server lag, people don't want to play because the game is laggy as fuck. Why do you have to do that to begin with? Why does my character have to load the entire inventory, including what's in the stash, for another character? Yeah, this is a thing. Like, it's dumb. It's straight up dumb. All they have to do is make the game not do that, and they would have way less lag and way less memory issues, and we could have more stash tabs. You know? And now you might be thinking, well, that's not really that bad. Well, what if I'm in a world where I have like 20 people on a server that are all next to me? Now the game literally has to load the inventory for all 20 people. And that's why there's so much lag. Yeah, man. Oh, I'm not trying to convince anybody to even start. You know, like, I mean, I just happen to like Diablo games. I think we can all tell I like Diablo 2 a little more than D4 if you've looked at my channel. But I mean, I still play these games, but I'm not going to actively go out there and try to be like, oh man, you should play D4. Anytime I try to get someone to play a Diablo game, it's Diablo 2. Facts. I would never walk up to somebody and be like, man, you need to play D4 because it's just got too much crap. There's just too many reasons to not play D4, unfortunately. But yeah. Bro. Okay, I'm ending the stream, guys. Thanks anybody for being here. It's good to see you, Grisham. I hope I can call you that because that's what I've been calling you. And man, I'm really worried about Diablo 4, guys. I am very, very worried about Diablo 4. I don't want to say this, but I don't think D4 is going to really be around by this time next year. I don't think we're going to get another expansion. I think the game is pretty much dead in the water right now. And unless they do something drastic to fix it, I think Path of Exile 2 is probably going to take over, unfortunately. And that really sucks because I want to like Diablo 4. Have a good one, that's correct. Yeah. So, but I don't know, man. Cool. Grisham. All right. So, yep. I'm going to get going. I got to go to the store and go do some real life crap. So, everybody have a good one. I will be back. Be putting out a new video soon. And everyone take it easy. So late.